Hawkeye Rides live stream. This time we're using the phone. We were told to try it out, so that way we can just change it up a little bit. Don't forget to check out the memberships and different things that we've been doing through the channel. We're going to start diving into auto news for the week. And with Audi, they actually have a lot of things going on for 2026. We have a A6 Avant coming out. They're going to have it all redone, and the teaser is the wagon, hence Avant. So I'm kind of excited to see how that's going. The RS6 Avant is also getting a refresh, and Audi has been talking about moving production to be built in the United States as well as Porsche. BMW for the X5 for 2026 will be getting a X5 M60E, which will be a hybrid variant. They don't have anything confirmed for an M. It may just be a carryover. They're also going to have the regular X5 as well as a plug-in hybrid variant. And for 2027, we're going to finally get a refresh for the X5M competition. So kind of excited to see where that's going to go as well. And for Mercedes, they're actually doing a lot of updates also. So the S-Class for 2026, completely refreshed. They are going to keep the 8 cylinders, the 6 cylinders, and 12 cylinders. So that is also exciting, as well as they have finally confirmed for 2026, the C63S is coming back with a V8 twin turbo. So that's going to be awesome. We haven't brought the new C63S to the channel yet. We will be going to Mercedes in the next coming week, so that is something that we are putting onto the agenda. And as for other updates in the news, there's obviously a lot of going back and forth with different, sorry with this, it's a little jumpy because I've never used it on a phone. Typically I use it on my laptop. I'm trying to see how to, it's not allowing me to view anything. So hopefully whenever the questions come in, I'll be able to view them. If not, we may have to change it back to the computer in order to see this. But so yeah, a lot of updates are going to be coming with BMW, with Mercedes, with Audi, Volkswagen, and Porsche also, like I was saying, is expecting to do some work in the United States also to offset different tariffs. And they're also expanding their line for more combustion engine. So the development of the electric vehicles, I'm not saying that they're putting it on a halt, but they are going more back into actual vehicles that are gas variants. And for 2027, BMW has been talking about the X5 hydrogen that's supposed to be released. So I'm kind of excited to see where that's going to come out, because in North America, we don't really have a lot of different facilities for this, but the technology is awesome. They've been talking about that coming out, so now they have actual date for Europe at least, and then it'll hopefully trickle into this way. Remember to. And other news, we went to BMW this. Oh, there we go. We're starting to finally get the community chats coming in. Hey James, how are you? Everything good to see you as well. Everything's good on this side. This week we went to BMW, so we are going to bring the 330i. We did a review with that, as well as a comparison against the M340i, which they have increased power. They've changed the suspension a little bit, so it's a more smoother vehicle. And I can definitely tell you, I was pretty impressed with the M340i, except for the price. This one wasn't too crazy, but it was still in the mid $60,000 range. We also went to Toyota, so we have the GR Corolla coming. We have the Corolla Cross coming, and the Tacoma with the iForce Max engine. I was actually excited to do that particular engine because we haven't had that one on the channel yet, and they had a couple of them on the lot. So we pulled one. It was a TRD Sport. The only thing that I will say, opposed to the review that you guys will see, is I was a little disappointed when you go to the more powerful variant, you actually lose towing and payload capabilities. And if you compare it against the V6 from the prior gen actually does more capabilities than this. So it's literally just for having more power. Mazda will work with Toyota to build the next gen G. Yes. So Mazda, I actually am really excited with Mazda. We released the CX-50 today. They're working with Toyota quite a bit. The hybrid variant, the powertrain is 100% Toyota's, but you're getting a Mazda. So I think the integration with this is actually really good because I like the suspension and the interior of Mazda a little bit better than Toyota, but I like the quality of or the longevity for the powertrain of Toyota. So when you put both two together, it's literally like a home run for me. And ultimately, like I'm hoping that I could do a comparison so that way we can see for Mazda and Toyota. Right now, Mazda did not want me to do that. I do have a comparison against the turbo and the hybrid so you can see the difference, but predominantly you're gonna obviously know the turbo blows it out of the water with performance. It's also, it's fully Mazda, whereas this one's Mazda Toyota. But ultimately, the way Mazda's going is they're giving a lot more premium luxury in the interior, where I feel Hyundai stepped it up a little bit, but Toyota has kind of been in the back burner. They haven't really done a lot to the interior to make it more soft. And even with their technology, they're just throwing in the same screens. So it's kind of lacking in that department. Are you going to bring back the 14.99? If not, I will join. Yes, so we are looking to bring back some more memberships stuff. Sean, good to see you. We had some hiccups with it, and I have a YouTube partner that we've been talking to that's been trying to fix some of the hiccups because somehow it got erased. So we have to put it back into place. So we should have everything back in gear mid this week. We have to go back to BMW and Toyota, though they were wanting us to do some other vehicles. So that's also been kind of making it where it's a little bit harder to fix the problems that we've had with some of the issues with YouTube. I thought Toyota was working with BMW. So BMW is not going to be doing the Z4. That is going to be discontinued, which kind of I actually like the Z4, especially if you get like the M50 or the M40i. Awesome variant. I mean, you're in the 3 second margin, 0 to 60. But unfortunately, they don't have any plans to reamp that vehicle, and that's pretty much it with the relationship with that because they are not going to be doing the Z4. As for some other companies that we're going to be going back into Range Rover to hopefully bring the SV. Toyota Crown lineup seems to offer the best interior from the brand. Yeah, so to circle back with Toyota, the Crown lineup is awesome, and historically, the Crown is basically a Lexus in a Toyota. The only thing that I find not as good is Lexus is a little bit more premium in the interior. So I understand the pricing that Toyota does for the Crown because it's kind of in the $50,000 ballpark in the 40s. But for some of the vehicles like the new Crown Signia, I feel like it should be in the lower 40s and topping at maybe 42, 45,000 because they only offer two variants. In the interior, it's an awesome vehicle, don't get me wrong, but you have the Crown that's kind of like a compact SUV and a sedan mix. So when you're putting these two variants, that's why I brought the comparison review. It really is kind of confusing the brand in a sense because why do you even come out with the wagon when you have already a sedan that's lifted up? The better way to go for me would offer a hatchback. So that way you kind of have that wagon with the Crown sedan. But instead of doing that, they just come out with a whole different variant, which it's a good vehicle. And if you go to the top tier, you get a little bit more features, but they don't really offer anything for power where they do in the Crown sedan. So that's why I feel the way that they have integrated the Crown coming back, it's a little weird because if you go historically, it was something that had good power, something that was very plush with the luxury, and the technology was really upscale. Now it's the same technology as Lexus. It just has Toyota badging, but the interior it kind of feels like almost an Alcantara instead of a leather. So it doesn't have that same plush feel and that softness. So it's a little bit more harsh, but it's still soft, if that makes sense. But when you go into Lexus, the seats are a lot more comfortable. but then Lexus is now adding a lot more plastic. So I think that they have kind of went the wrong route with that, because what makes me go to Lexus opposed to Toyota is that I'm getting those premium materials. But I feel like the premium materials I'm starting to see more in Mazda opposed to Lexus. I know it's a completely different vehicle and company, but it shouldn't be that case, because then you're getting a huge discount if you go into the Mazda brand. And that's why I've been trying to do a lot of different comparison. I've been getting some backlash here and there with some of the companies, because obviously they don't want me to compare them, because then you can clearly see the differences. So that's why I've been just explaining the differences in the reviews until I can get the ability to put them side to side. And even like BMW, they're starting to have some I saw briefly, I don't know if it's recalls yet, but they're starting to have some, actually, there's some recalls on some of the tech for the new X3. But even the materials that they're using for the X3, I kind of feel like they went the wrong direction, because they're putting recycled materials is good, but when you're paying a premium price, you're also expecting to get premium materials, not vinyl materials throughout the interior, or the veganized leather that they've been really implementing a lot into the BMW line. And you're going to start seeing that trickle in a lot more so in the 3, 4, and 5 series. 7 series, they still kind of don't necessarily offer it as much, but you'll see a lot more of those on the lot. Hello, Jason. Or Justin. What, hold on. I'm sorry. I'm on the phone, so it's my phone is actually not that big of a phone. So if I'm scrolling and stuff, just don't mind me. I don't read a script, so I just kind of go off of memory. Another thing that I wanted to bring up, I did mention it on the last live stream. Corvette is pausing production right now, which I think that's going to kind of inflate the price. So if you are looking for a Corvette, just be just know that in the back of your mind, because they are ultimately holding production. They're saying it because of not necessarily quality control, but it kind of goes into that line. And they're also maybe considering to do some updates to the interior, which I don't see them doing that for a 25 variant. So really, I think they're just doing it for price. And I wanted to also mention, Infinity finally got back to us on what's going on with my vehicle. We picked it up finally. It's 5 weeks. And hold on one second. My Mini has recycled. Yep, Mini does the same thing. Mini and BMW are doing the recycled materials, which I do like that they're doing that. It's just, if you're doing recycled materials, maybe give a little bit less in the MSRP, because you're not getting like more premium upscaled materials. I'm not saying that they're bad materials, because I would prefer plastics being recycled instead of just every vehicle you're adding new plastic. But in the same aspect, if you're doing this, you know they're getting a discount, but they're not pushing it onto us, the buyer. So Nissan Infinity got back to us, got the vehicle back after 5 weeks. The massage seat finally works. What they did to fix it, which was crazy, they literally took a 2025 variant and took the seat out, put the seat in my vehicle to see why the massage seat isn't working, because we've replaced every single thing except for the harness. So North America came down and they said, replace the harness. It's working. Everything's good to back to normal. But Infinity has finally agreed that they will either do a buyback or a repurchase. So now we have about 2 to 4 weeks to make the decision. So any suggestions, I'm all ears, because we need to buy a new vehicle. We have been looking at some vehicles, and I told my wife, I said, maybe we should finally go out and buy what she wants. She wants either an RS Q8 or a Lamborghini Urus. And I said, the reason why I'm saying we should do that is when we buy a new car, we typically buy it with cash. So now we're going to have all that money back for a down payment, less usage, which if you guys ever do a buyback, what they do is your miles, you divide it by 120,000, and then you times that by what you paid on the MSRP. Now, when you do that, you get a number. That number is your usage. You'll minus that off of the MSRP of what you paid, and that's how much money you'll get back from the buyback. So thanks, James. I know we're kind of excited, but now the vehicle seems to be working really well. So just got a Versa. Oh, that's awesome. Congratulations with your Versa. Great vehicles and awesome pricing. So the issue now is like it seems we've only had it for a few days, but it's been working awesome. And now it's like, wow, now the vehicle works, and now they want to do a buyback, which is great. But the 2025 variant, as you see, I'm not very happy with on the reviews because it's a four-cylinder VC turbocharged engine, which is not necessarily as strong as the V6 engine for longevity. It still has a 9-speed automatic transmission, but ultimately, now we've been looking at vehicles, and surprisingly, if you look at any of the Urus, they only have like 300-ish in the whole United States. And like I've been saying through many live streams, they don't have any new ones. They only have like one or two here and there, which people have either pre-bought and then they just didn't want them. And ultimately, you'd have to wait for a 26 because they're sold out. As for the RSQ8, all of those variants, they have new ones, but not like they're all either just black and white, so just kind of basic colors because they're trying to keep the MSRP like less. I don't want to order a vehicle because we don't necessarily have the time to do so. So like I said, any suggestions of what kind of vehicle you guys think would be awesome to get, let me know. Drop it in the comments because we are searching now. Plus we're fasting because it's also the month of Ramadan. So it's been a little bit different with that because of now searching for a vehicle and fasting. As for some other updates with vehicles, we went to Hyundai. We are going to be bringing the Elantra in. We did get a chance to get one of those vehicles. Veganized leather. What would that be in the BMW variant? Yes, that's the Sensatech. That's basically, well, sometimes they, so now what they're doing on the new sticker prices for the MSRP, they'll still say Sensatech, so it's the fake leather. The veganized, they've been adding that on the 5 Series and 7 Series, so they actually charge more money for it because they say that it's basically leather, but it's not. So I don't know. I would rather go to the Sensatech because it's free. How did you find this on your? Did your dad have a? How did it start? How did like YouTube start, or how did the passion for vehicles start? Urus will cost you a lot on insurance now. So we don't know that yet. Service we do know is crazy price for the Urus. I'm going to see what the insurance pricing is on that because ultimately I don't think we'll be able to find one anyways. We're basically looking at the same pricing as something of a RSQ8, so that's why that was kind of thrown in. I got an oil change at the end of at Ed Morris. This is Neil talking about his V series. Guy said he wouldn't waive the fuel system cleaner charge since I didn't ask for it. He called for a manager. Manager said that's fine and didn't put it in anyways. Oh wow. So with Ed Morris, Neil, I actually, when I owned my own XLR, I was going between the two. So I'm sure you're aware they have one in Tampa and one in Brandon. Sometimes the one in Brandon is actually nicer than the one in Tampa. And there's a manager there. His name is Mike Murphy. I'm pretty sure he's still there. So if you don't work with the Brandon one, call Brandon and ask for Mike Murphy. And he's awesome. Just tell him Anthony Hawkeye sent you. He'll know who I am. He used to do a great job with everything for me. Your passion for cars. So my passion for cars, I've always had a passion for it. I used to own restaurants and I've done cell phone things. I didn't do anything with cell phones like owning a business, but I owned 4 different Italian restaurants. My father was exiled from Sicily, came to New York, so we ultimately make Italian food, pizza, and because I was brought up in the Bronx, we do pizzerias, but with Italian foods, everything homemade. So I had 4 restaurants. I sold all the restaurants before COVID. Surprisingly, COVID hit like maybe a month after. I was always a car person. One of my first businesses was cleaning cars. I used to do hand detailing, and ultimately I got into the restaurant business because it was kind of like a family thing. I also did the cell phone business because I had some friends do that. So I was into sales, but I've always been into cars. And like my first vehicle driving was a Jeep Grand Cherokee 5.9 liter limited, which was kind of a special edition. It had a huge engine in it, a lot of power. It was considered one of the fastest SUVs at its time. And then ultimately the car passion just kind of went on from there. Sweet, I work across the street from the Brandon one. Yeah, definitely check it out. I think Mike Murphy, he'll definitely help you out. If he's not there, let me know and I'll check through my contacts to see who else you could work with. But he's the best contact that I would go to. I wouldn't even know where to start with owning your own business. Well, ultimately, owning your own business, a lot of people think it's very complex. You need to do this and that and all these crazy things. Ultimately, for me, what I did is I was getting out of the restaurant business and I was going to do something more with real estate because we sold the business, so I had some money. But I said, you know what, it's a little bit risky, and then COVID hit, so we just saved the money. So I went to Infinity, which was the first dealership that I linked up with and started a relationship there. And they said, whatever vehicles you want, do whatever you want with them. And I said, this is awesome. So then I started doing that. And ultimately, my next dealership was Mercedes-Benz and then Audi. Ultimately, I couldn't get vehicles like Toyota, Hyundai, Honda, Nissan. Nissan, actually, I got them fairly easy. But the other ones, it took multiple relationships, and most of these relationships take months to years in order to actually make because they're trusting you with their inventory, so it's actually quite difficult. And I understand that. I mean, who am I, right? You don't know who I am. I'm coming in and I'm asking to drive expensive vehicles. But it wasn't the case with Infinity and Mercedes. And every time I went to Mercedes, I mean, they give me hundreds of thousands of dollars of inventory because I'm sure if everybody knows when you go to Mercedes, they're very expensive cars. Almost everything's like $100,000 or more. So sometimes I get four, five, six, $700,000 of inventory. I mean, we have two Maybach comparisons where we're comparing the regular Maybach versus the electric one. It's on the channel now. That itself was like a four or $500,000 review, considering the price of the vehicles. And they entrust me with these vehicles, and I appreciate that. But funny enough, when I go to Toyota and Honda and Hyundai, they're like, no, nobody will like you doing our vehicles. So you just have to keep going with it. And my advice, if you're wanting to start your own business, just try it. I mean, what's the worst that can happen? Don't quit your day job. Keep doing what you're doing to pay the bills, but try something. There's nothing wrong with that. Is your background Italian and Arab? It's Italian. My mother is from the United States. We don't have any Arab in us. We converted to become Muslims later on. My father, he has a lot of different variants in him as well. So he also has some mixture with Albanian. My aunt, her husband is Bosnian, so it's kind of, but obviously that has nothing to do with me. Just we have a lot in our bloodline. Do the dealers ever ask for a piece of your advertisement revenue? No, not at all. What the dealers usually ask is if I'll work for them because they are very impressed with my knowledge. And I'm not trying to boast by any means. I just love vehicles, so I sit and research things like, yesterday I was just reading about Audi, and it's exciting when you're seeing things like new, and the industry is starting to change things a lot. So like some variants, like I was at Infinity, for instance, to kind of sidetrack, Infinity was like, you go to Hyundai, you go to Acura, you go to these companies, and every year they're changing things, whether it's little or big. But with Infinity, they haven't changed things for years. But then on a side note, Infinity is the one that actually created the 360-degree reverse camera. A lot of people don't know this. And then when you're, using that on any of your vehicle, whether it's a Cadillac, a Mercedes, an Audi, that was derived from Nissan. The same thing with backup collision, or the backup intervision collision is what Nissan calls it, which means it'll brake for you. That technology has been developed from Nissan. So unfortunately, they did a lot of cool things, but they never really told anybody about it, and they didn't charge any subscription fee. Similar to like Volvo, the seatbelt, that was designed from them. A lot of people don't know this stuff. So I love cars. The dealerships know this, and they see the knowledge, and they usually are like, wow, can you just work for us because you can sell cars? And I said, that's not what I do, though. I want to help people and educate people of what they should get so they don't get ripped off when they're going to the dealership. Because unfortunately, there are shady dealerships, and there are team members, I'm sure, that would be like, you know what, I didn't sell something, I got to sell a vehicle. And then they push it on somebody, and sadly, you get the second most expensive asset of your life. And then you didn't want that, and you're stuck with it. Let's see. What type of customers buy a Maybach Mercedes? Honestly, anybody could buy them. I feel like it's somebody that obviously wants to stand out a little bit more so. A good example would be like you're sitting in traffic. So Neil knows, we sit in traffic at 275 or Interstate 75. Just look around you. Everybody is kind of the same, right? They're driving a Honda, a Nissan, Toyota. What makes them different? So that's kind of the person that buys a Maybach or a V Series or an M variant or even an M340 or an M Sport variant, things of that nature. They want to stand out. And when you get into these vehicles, I guess a good way to explain it would be like I review all vehicles. So sometimes I review the inexpensive vehicles so much that when I get into a more expensive vehicle, say an Audi, a BMW, a Cadillac, whatever, I sit in the car and I'm like, wow, this is luxury. You can tell the difference, but unfortunately, when you go to a dealership, 95, I would say 95 to almost 100% of the time, when you go to a dealership, you're going to buy the vehicle from that dealership because they're going to sweet talk you into it. And sadly, some people that look at a Toyota never look at a Lexus. But when you go into a Lexus, you can see a huge difference. So I really encourage people, and that's why I explain and compare so much differences between the models. So people are not like, you know what, it's a Toyota Corolla. Maybe you want to go look at an IS. I get it, it's going to be a lot more money, but the luxury is different. The drive is different. Check them out. Gray Hyundai SUV. Yeah, Hyundai's, they're doing an awesome job. The Palisade, though, I'm excited to see what's going to happen because they have dropped the V6. So I want to see how the power is on the new Palisade for 2026 because they do a great job with vehicles. So that's definitely, and even the interior, like the Santa Fe's, like they do an awesome job, and they give a lot of power too for those turbo fours. I have a 21 330i, really wanted an M340, but I wanted to save the money. I mean, with the 330i, so I have a comparison between the two, plus I have each one coming as well as reviews, separate reviews. So 3 different reviews ultimately. With the 330i, you can update the engine. So meaning like you can go to an aftermarket. The B48 is an awesome engine. You're not going to have any issues. It'll last forever. You can change the exhaust. So there's a few things you can do to get more power to it. Do you have the M Sport suspension or M Sport package on your 330i? Because you already have the X Drive. So you already have a better weight distribution also because the X Drive is a touch better than the rear-wheel drive 330i. If you don't have the M Sport package, you don't necessarily need to update the brakes because you have a smaller, the engine, you already have everything that adds the weight, and you don't have the B58 engine, which weighs a little bit more than your engine. So ultimately where I'm getting at is you can do some aftermarket work, probably put maybe at the most $2,000. If you want to put a little more, you can. Maybe just do a chip. Just do the chip. I think the chips are about $500 to $1,000. That's going to unlock a lot of horsepower. You don't have to worry about configuration with the 8-speed Steptronic automatic transmission because it's the same transmission that's in the M340i. So you're good with that. You don't have to worry about anything. The suspension, you could do some things with that, but I don't know unless you're taking it on the track. Ultimately, where I'm getting at, for maybe a couple $1,000s, you'd have more power or just as much power as the M340i and just as much fun. And you got the savings, and yours is going to be more unique. So again, even though you bought that vehicle and maybe you wanted the M340i, you can still update it to get a lot more power out of that engine. And I mean, it already has 295 pound-feet of torque, so it has a pretty decent amount. I think the 0 to 60 is right at 6 seconds, give or take, so it's pretty quick. You can get into the 5-second margin even faster. BMW kind of ups their numbers, and all the auto industry does this too. So even if you're looking at any of the Germans, they're all putting the numbers a few tenths of a second quicker or slower. They do this purposely because obviously there's so many people that are just trying to do lawsuits. So it just makes it easier to say, you know what, let's just do a baseline number. So it's kind of the in-between number or the overall average number, similar like MPGs. But like I was saying with vehicles, don't be discouraged to look at other variants because ultimately, even if you have a base model, that doesn't mean you can't go and look at other vehicles. No M Sport in it, unfortunately. What is totally insane is the difference from sport mode versus eco is mind-blowing. Yes, that is one thing I stated on the review too, is the when you're changing the driving modes, yeah, look into the chip, it'll actually liven it up a lot more so. I found that normal and sport mode was the best. Obviously, normal is the way you drive it, but eco, it feels a lot heavier whenever you're pushing the gas pedal for the 330i. We do have an X5 M60i coming. The reason why I did this one, because I've done a few already on the channel, is the color. I believe it was the Marina Bay Blue Metallic. It was just an awesome color in the for the exterior, and it was actually the cheapest spec I've ever found. That was the two reasons why I did the review, because it was like $92,000. So for an M60 X5, that's really good, because typically they're right at 100,000 or over. And I get it. People usually in the comments for the X5s, they'll say things like, well, you can't really get it this inexpensive, this and that. You can, but you don't get things like soft closed doors. You don't get the massage seats. They do kind of strip out a lot of things. But this one had the climate package, so it had the ventilated front seats, heated rear seats, and heated front seats, as well as the center cluster and the quad climate control. And I think it also had the 360-degree camera, which those are the only two things that I would say you have to have. But then, BMW kind of skimps not giving a soft closed door, because at 90 grand, I mean, I know it sounds weird, but like with Maserati at 90 grand, when they increased the price, they gave you soft closed doors standard on all their models. That was one of the things they did when they increased the price. So that's why, like, I don't know. I feel like the way the auto industry does, they're increasing the price, which is what everyone does because they have to offset pricing. But in the same category, stop taking things away and giving us a tablet. I mean, I don't know how you guys feel, but I would prefer to still keep the minimalistic look. Give me some buttons so everything's not just touch drive, but don't do everything where it's all about technology. Give us something else, like the actual drive to the vehicle again, instead of giving the fake exhaust note that filters in. I like that Audi is, going back to giving the exhaust that's going to be exposed. They're not doing the fake stuff on the rear anymore. But in the same category, like, make it feel like, I hate to say early 2000s, where the cars kind of had like a life to it instead of like all this electric stuff. If you could get your hands on something like a classic Ferrari or McLaren F1 to review. So we do have a Ferrari team and a Lamborghini team. The issue that we have with both of them is new cars. They don't really have any, especially in Tampa. I looked last night, they literally have not one new car. So classic vehicles, I was thinking, I actually mentioned it to James and on a couple live streams before. If that's something that you guys are interested in, let us know, because we are thinking about bringing some classic vehicles in and maybe some older vehicles too, to do different comparisons as well. Because with some of the dealerships, we have a lot of different vehicles on the lots, and they are all for us doing them. So I can definitely compare them and cross, so that way it helps for cross shopping purposes, and you can see different things too. We did do a i8 a while back that way. It didn't get a lot of views off of it, but again, if it's something that you guys are interested in, I definitely will bring those to the channel. Albright, do you enjoy your... Oh, they're asking you, sorry. For me, I like the 330i, but it's about a $10,000-$15,000 difference in the M340i. Would love to see that, Anthony. All right, James, I'll definitely do that. The i8 is coming back. So again, BMW, there's a lot of things that they're doing. They're changing a lot of stuff. So until they get closer to production, I try not to say anything. So like right now for 26, there isn't really anything through the grapevine of an X5M, for instance. I'm assuming it's going to be a carryover because they are changing the X5 for 2026. But for 2027, they have verified that they're having an competition for the X5 and also the hydrogen vehicle. So those are confirmed. So that's why I just try to not necessarily go too far out, because obviously with the vehicles and the new administration, they've been changing a lot of things, like Audi and Porsche now are going somewhat back to the combustion engine, and also even Mercedes. They confirmed, I think, yesterday. So I'm sure if you haven't seen it, you'll see it through other people. They seem to tell the news whenever they do. But the C43S AMG is going to have a V8 twin turbo, so I'm happy about that. Brian, I have a new SQ7 coming in about a month. Can you talk about this Audi? Yeah. So the SQ7, awesome vehicle. I kind of wish they had an RSQ7, because that would be kind of the best of both worlds, because it's third row variant. One thing about the SQ7 opposed to the SQ8, the second row, you have manual sunshades, they have power sunshades. Other than that, it's a third row variant. You have a lot of horsepower. The 0 to 60 is like 4.1 seconds, I want to say. That's what Audi's quoting. Some people have got it around the 3.9, 3.8. I mean, it really doesn't matter at a few tenths of a second. Going light to light, you're not probably going to take it onto the track. I like the SQ7 though, because the way the turbos kick. So if you notice, when you put it into the sport mode, the first turbo kicks, I believe it's at like 1.5 to 1.6-ish. And then the 48-volt mild hybrid technology actually goes in between it before the second one kicks in. That's why you don't feel as much lag. So it's actually quite unique, because if you go into an RS Q8, because they don't have an RS Q7, you can feel a little bit more lag, and it's because the same engine, they just tuned it differently. But ultimately, when you go into like the Lamborghini variant or the Bentayga, the lag is gone, which I feel like they do that to push you into those variants. Have you heard of the Maxi product? I see Instagram, you spray it and clean the exterior without water. I have, but just be careful with those products, because ultimately anything that's sticking, if it's something that's like dust, then by all means, it's not a big deal. But you can actually use a spray wax for that. So it's not, I mean, I typically will use a spray wax, like a more higher end one, not something you buy through Walmart. Go to like an auto parts store or something like that, and or order it online, and get one with gosh, what the heck is it? It has like the same thing that you would put to protect your paint, basically. They'll have like an additive to it, so it's usually about $15, but you can spray that and it'll get the dust off the vehicle. But if it's like you're cleaning the car and it's dirty, I would just be cautious with those products, because you can still scratch them. Audi is a great brand. Yeah, they are. Awesome vehicles. I'm excited. I have a S5 already and I like it. Do you ride motorcycles? Great video idea. I'm actually going to go get my motorbike license in the next coming weeks, because I wanted to do some different things here and there, maybe on like a Tuesday or a Thursday where we don't put videos, to show something with like motorbikes. I'm also considering doing the pilot license. I think it's like $120 an hour. You only have to do 40 hours. I've been wanting to do it for about 2 years now, so probably going to start hopefully before summer, so that way I could bring some aviation things, because I mean $140 an hour, I know it's a lot, but this way, I mean 40 hours, so just a few $1,000s, you get your license and you know how to fly a plane. And then the motorbike license, I think it'd be awesome, because ultimately I drive all types of vehicles. So sometimes I used to go, before I started the YouTube channel, to an FAA employee. I used to go into the dealerships and they would pay me on the side to do reviews for their own channels. So that was another reason why I started doing YouTube, and I would drive their 6-wheel vehicles, which was different because they're a little bit wider, but you don't need like a special license. But I like to kind of go further, so that way I can drive every single vehicle, so I can say different things also in the reviews. Film the process. Yes, I will definitely do that. For the motorbike and the airplane, I definitely want to take the cameras with me. I'm going to probably wait a few more weeks for the motorbike one, just because we're fasting, and they usually only do it on the weekends, from what I heard, like Saturday, Sunday, you get your license on a Sunday. But I've already driven motorbikes, so I do know how to drive them, but not like great. So I think it'll be something different. Cam AM is cool. Okay, yeah. Like I said, I'm gonna check out all these different things because it's not just great content, but it also helps, especially when you're comparing things with vehicles. You can also compare them with motorbikes. Obviously, aviation is a lot different, but it's something different and unique. I don't think anyone else does it. Even think to break out to the RVs. The RVs, start when I started the channel a few years ago. I think 2 years is when I started it realistically. Before that, I was just kind of back and forth with it. Um, I was told to do RVs, but I feel like that would be a different channel because of the content being completely different. But ultimately, knowing how to drive other vehicles would be something that would be right on par with the channel. Um, and I think it's awesome because I have some friends that have motorbikes and they're always like, come on, let's go ride. And that's how I actually rode. They let me drive their motorbike. I got it up to like 20 miles per hour in a parking lot. I didn't do the changing of the gears, so that's why I say I don't really know how to drive them, but I could probably figure it out because it's not rocket science. And I mean, you learn it within like 2 days, from my understanding. So I think it would be cool. And my son Issa, he likes motorbikes as well. And actually, Issa is going back and looking back into F1. So if you guys are just keep him in your prayers because I'm trying to see if he wants to go that route. He did just turn 17, so he is kind of on the older spectrum for F1. But he's been doing some different simulations and stuff, which he got third place in a Red Bull competition a few months back, which if he would have got first place, he would have got a contract. So I'm really excited. Hopefully he can proceed his career with that. He is also looking into the medical career for college because he's on his last year. But sadly, his high school, he goes to a magnet school. Some people on the live stream are familiar with Florida magnet schools are kind of what you want to go to. Some of the public schools are not as good or A rated, but they have been picking up. Ultimately, though, we somehow didn't re-register him. Apparently, you have to register every year, and I guess we missed the 2 emails that they sent, so they're kicking him out for a senior year. So I'm trying to figure out how to do something because the school is literally like, just put him in another school, and I'm like, his senior year. He literally went to the same schools his whole life, and for the last year, he has to just figure it out. So any tips you guys have would be awesome. I've contacted ABC Action News, but they don't want to touch bases because they said he's a minor. I just think it sucks because you go your whole life in school and now you're getting transferred to whatever random school just to finish. But going, you still look for a car? Yes. Like I said at the beginning, we are looking a lot more so because Infinity has granted us a buyback or a repurchase. So we're thinking about doing the repurchase for the vehicle so that way we can get a 25 vehicle and maybe just trade that one in. High school, homeschool. I actually thought about doing the homeschool just so that way it's done. He's already doing college classes. So it's just a little irritating though that they're kicking him out because he has his friends and obviously he would want to do like the graduation party. That's what everybody does. So for the M8, we would love to do an M8. That is kind of in the cards, but we're looking for an SUV ultimately. Why are they kicking him out? Because we didn't re-register him for his final year. Ultimately, every year they send an email. They sent 2 emails and it went to my junk mail. I don't check my junk mail, usually like once a month. I checked it and it was a month old. And then my son came back to school that same day and he said, well, they're not allowing me to go back to the school for next year. I have to be on a waiting list. So I'm just like, well, that's great. I talked to the principal. They don't seem to care about anything either. Have a great weekend. Take care. You as well. Is he a junior? Yes, he's a junior. He's on his final year, so that's why a little bit irritated about that. But I have thought about doing either the homeschool or just putting him into like another magnet school, but I think the registration has been canceled. We are going to close up the live stream a little bit earlier today, only because it's the first day of Ramadan and we're getting ready to break our fast soon. I hope everybody enjoyed. Check out the memberships. Sean, I'm going to try to fix up the rest of the membership stuff that got erased. And also check out different things that we're doing. Let us know any different type of vehicles that you'd like to see coming onto the channel. If you want to see some classic cars and things of that, we are going to be going to Porsche, Audi, and Range Rover, Ford. So this month we're going to a lot of different vehicles, even though we're fasting. And I hope to see you guys on the next live stream. Also, let me know if you guys liked it on the phone. This is the first time I've ever done it on the phone. I actually closed it, came back a couple times before it came out. So hey, you guys have a great weekend. Thank you guys for coming in. Thank you, Sean. Thank you, James. Thank you, everybody. Brown Eyes, everybody that always comes, and all the newcomers. You guys have an excellent weekend, and I look forward to seeing you guys on the next review. Oh, we have a Land Rover coming out tomorrow. That's a Land Rover. I think it's a, gosh, what is it? It's not the Defender. I think it's just a Land Rover, a Range Rover Sport. But either way, we have one coming out tomorrow. Have a good day, guys. Take care.